Canada reacted. Canada's Premier Doug Ford reacted, and he gave his thoughts on what was going on with the tariffs. And let's see if they're going to retaliate against the United States of America.
Now is Doug Ford, Premier of Ontario. Thank you so much for joining the show tonight. Premier Ford, first off, your reaction to these new tariffs announced by President Trump.
Well, first of all, thanks for having me on, Lindsay. You know, I was cautiously optimistic. We have to get more into the details. I was cautiously optimistic because we weren't on the list. You know, you had the 2-page list. We weren't on there. We just want to continue building a strong relationship with our closest friends and allies.
Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney has vowed to respond with retaliatory tariffs. What might those look like?
Well, let's take a look at the complete list and really understand it. It wasn't 100% clear on the press conference when he talked about all the countries. I didn't see Canada on the list. I just want to build a strong AMCAN fortress, American Canadian fortress, 2 strongest countries in the world, safest countries, most prosperous. That's what we would like to see, and continue on our incredible relationship over 200 years.
It sounds like to me, and I could be off, but y'all bring me back to the front of the congregation. It sounds like they realize that they've been doing us dirty and taking advantage of us for a long time. And now he's taking a more relaxed tone and a more understanding perspective as to whether or not they want to actually retaliate or they want to stand down and understand why we're doing what we're doing. It don't look like that they being tough no more. I remember when they first started having this conversation and they started going back about it and all of that. Now it's a lot more, you know what? We just want to understand. We want to build a strong American fortress. I was vlogging earlier today, and it's on the video that I released this morning on the Anton Daniels channel. And I ran into a woman here that was in Canada. And she was so, she was looking at me and she was looking at me vlog, and then she waved or whatever. And I stopped. It was towards the end of the video. And I said, "Where are you from?" She was a pretty girl too. And she said, "I'm from Canada." And I said, "What do you think about what's going on with Canada and the United States of America with these tariffs?" And she was like, "I just think it's sad." And that's it. She said she just think it's sad. Canadians understand that you guys have benefited from the United States of America for a long time. A very, very long time. Absolutely, you've benefited from us. And so all we looking to do is for y'all to understand and join again. Listen, it's better this way. It's better for you guys. It's better for the world that America fixes what we have going on, because we are the ones that drive the economy throughout the whole world. I remember when the housing crisis hit in 2008 and everything went down. The entire world went into a recession because the United States went into a recession. When we get rich, you benefit. When you take advantage of us, we got to hit back. We got to fix America first. We cannot keep thinking that what's good for us is not going to be good for you. Doug Ford looks like he's taking a more relaxed approach to this thing, so that they're going to go back and figure it out, because you don't want to be our enemy. He just wants to build a stronger America-Canadian relationship, right?
Senator Rand Paul, who co-sponsored a bill to essentially block President Trump's tariffs on Canada, said that he thinks tariffs on trade between U.S. and Canada will threaten America with a recession. Your thoughts on that?
Well, I agree with Senator Paul, and I appreciate his courage. I always said right from day one, a tariff on Canada is a tax on Americans, and that's as clear as day.
Canada got integrated
our supply chains, not just with auto, but other areas.
President Trump, as you know, referred to today as Liberation Day, the day that the American industry was reborn, but you've called it Termination Day. What did you mean by that?
Well, just similar to Senator Paul, a lot of people would lose their jobs if he inflicts a tremendous amount of tariffs on his largest customer in the world. We do more trade than Japan and South Korea, along with UK and France combined. So I've always said, Lindsay, that we're stronger together.
They're looking to bolster their relationship with the United States of America because they are facing pressure from other countries and tariffs that is happening against them. And they in their own tariff war. See, what people don't understand, because we live in this silo of what we think America is, what people don't understand is that these other countries are fighting each other too. And they are using American resources to bolster what they have while they're also trying to fight other countries and get a position in this global war that we have, this economic war, this global economic war that we have. I was reading an article on a plane yesterday, and it was saying how I believe it was Malaysia and India and several other countries that were suffering as a result of China continuing to push their products into the worldwide markets. China didn't just push their products into the United States of America. China helped themselves get rich off the US. And in turn, they are trying to take some of the pressure out of the real estate bubble that we've discovered over the past couple of years. And the way that they do that is they're continuing to subsidize other countries by bribing the leaders and say, hey, we'll build high-speed rail. We'll help y'all with y'all infrastructure. We'll give y'all loans. We'll do all of this stuff as long as you allow for us to continue to sell products inside of your country without additional tariffs. And what's happened is they've destroyed the economies, the neighborhoods, the rich cities of a lot of the places that they're doing business with. If you look at a lot of these other countries, China is destroying this is why y'all need to educate yourself. Y'all don't realize that the only reason we've been able to survive is because we've been strong enough and we're the biggest consumer market, which means that we generate the most revenue and we spend the most on products outside of the United States of America than any other country in the world. And so we've been able to survive because other markets are invested in our dollar. Other markets have a vested interest in making sure that we stay propped up because we've been helping everybody else and haven't been helping ourselves. There are plenty. I'm going to get the article because I was reading it on Apple News yesterday. There are plenty of markets that are suffering. They are suffering. Neighborhoods, jobs, whole neighborhoods, whole cities are being decimated because Chinese are pushing their products into their country at a cheaper rate for their consumers to buy. And it's basically eliminated entire markets inside of these countries because China has figured out how to do it cheaper. And then they bribe their governments to give it over, which is basically what's been happening in the United States of America. And then it completely decimates the economy altogether. And the leaders are going for it. And the leaders are going for it. And y'all want that to continue to happen here. It's been happening for decades. And that's why y'all keep complaining that y'all can't find no jobs. Why do you think that China continues to invest in Africa? Why do you think that China is continuing to try to bolster relationships with India? Why do you think that China is partnering with more African nations than ever before? Why do you think that they're giving so much money over to Africa? You think that they like Africans? They don't like them. They're doing it because they're leveraging it in order to take all of their minerals, their resources. They taking advantage of all of the consumers and selling the products for cheaper. And then they're giving them loans and infrastructure that they know that they're going to default on so that Chinese can then own the entire country and the entire nation. Yes, they're colonizing. Economically, they are colonizing other countries. And you want it to happen here because you're not aware of what happened historically. You're not aware of what's happening on a worldwide stage. You're not familiar what's happened with international relations. Don't you realize that they are destroying nations, nation by nation by nation by nation by nation? When Doug Ford is talking and saying that, yo, we need to bolster American relations, and why they're taking a more measured approach and not just reacting immediately and saying, well, we're going to do a tariff against y'all too, is because they fighting other nations on top of it. China don't care nothing about China. They don't care about anything except for China. They're not doing something for another nation. They don't care about what's happening in the United States of America. They're being subsidized by the government so that they can then take advantage of the worldwide market to make their own selves rich. They don't care about us, but you stand with them, you idiots.
Together, not just economically, we share the same values. we're so integrated.
Of course, there's been ongoing uncertainty with the escalating trade war. What's it going to take, in your estimation, to create stability for consumers on both sides of the border?
Well, everyone wants certainty. The markets want certainty. Businesses want certainty. People want certainty in their lives. And until we sit down and give them certainty, the markets tumbled again today. Hopefully they'll recover.
Let me explain this question. I'm gonna speak on this. Millionaire Morning Show, Anton Daniels. How do you solve the problem of expensive labor and affordable products because local production equals higher costs? It doesn't. It actually doesn't. It actually lowers the cost because you have more spending power. If the dollar, do you know why black culture got one thing right that I agree with, but they haven't been able to solve it. And they say that the circulation of the American dollar, or the circulation of the dollar within the black community, leaves out almost immediately, almost within 3 to 5 hours of earning, right? And they say that within other communities, and this is on a local level, and then we're going to expand it to an international level. They say, but when you look at other communities like the Jewish community and the Arabic community, they actually have that dollar circulate more inside of their communities, which helps other people. Now, I'll give you an example, right? I build houses. I can build cheaper houses by hiring immigrants, illegal migrants, to come and do a lot of the work that's inside of my business. Now, if that happens, I benefit, but I don't pass any of that cost. I don't pass any additional blessings onto anybody else that's around me, because the guy that does decks, that is friends with, their daughter, and my daughter is friends inside of Taekwondo, he don't benefit. So what happens is it drives down the market or the value of the homes that's in that particular area, because he can't afford to keep his home. And so he loses it. And I get to swallow that up because I'm basically becoming Dormammu, right? I don't know if y'all have ever watched the Marvel series, or you've watched Doctor Strange, where he basically negotiated with Dormammu. But me circulating that dollar, right? I get a small savings that I then don't pass over to the consumer, but I save that in my own pocket, and I continue to enrich myself by taking advantage of people that surround me. However, I don't lose any money, because the people that are around me are the ones that can then afford to rent my homes, or to buy my homes, or to do business with me. So what I choose to do is I pay a livable wage, or I pay the right amount of money to the people that surround me. I take a little bit less. And what happens is you pass that savings on to the consumer, while at the same time bolstering your economy. So everybody then benefits, because you have more spending power. When the people around you can also benefit because they can spend more money, that means that they spend more money with you, or they spend more money with their neighbor. The costs don't come down for the products that you buy. When automakers started to ship jobs overseas through the North American Free Trade Agreement, right? When automakers ship jobs, they didn't lower the cost of cars. They increased the profits for their shareholders. They didn't create more jobs for American consumers, which ultimately they ate their own, because they had to compete in a marketplace where they sold less cars. And what happened is, over a period of time, they had to raise the prices to meet the expectations of trying to still appease those shareholders. When automakers had American workers making those products, what happened is it drove more profits, because we were able to buy more cars. So now automakers have to sell less cars at a higher profit to still meet the expectations of shareholders. When you keep the dollar circulating within your own community, you don't have to raise prices. These companies didn't pass the savings on to you. They just got fatter and bigger. If you want to get true parity, right? If you really want to get it to the point to where we all benefit, Democrats think that you need to tax people so that so that legislators can take your money and do whatever it is, and they give them handouts. That's not how you do it. What you do is you can lower the cost of living by expanding the buying power of all of the people that surround you, because everybody participates when we then keep the dollar circulating in our own communities. If you get money and he get money, but I take a little bit less, but I can sell more products because everybody is making money, it's not about lower prices. It's about spending power. The companies don't pass that savings on to the consumers. They keep it in their own pockets. If you truly want parity, if you really want to understand how the market and the economy works, all you got to do is open up your own business. When the people can't afford your products because nobody has jobs, how does that benefit you? But if the dollar is circulating to where everybody is sharing in the community, then we all benefit. When they ship those jobs overseas, through, it did not lower the price of the goods for you guys. It did not lower what it was that it was going to cost you. It just cost you more over a period of time because nobody could afford the products. If everybody getting money, then everybody can participate in the economy. But if nobody have jobs, what do you think is going to happen? We killing ourselves by giving it to other people. The cost of houses don't go down because people are building them cheaper. It creates an economy where the people that own the houses that are selling them are the ones that's taking all of the money. The cost of housing is not going down. When they go and they in the real estate market, okay? And I hate that I have to teach it from this lens, but let me help you to understand something. In the real estate game, because lumber is cheaper or because you're using illegal migrants to build your homes, it doesn't lower the cost of housing. It increases the profits for the person that's building a house. When you evaluate how much you're going to sell a house for, or when they evaluate how much they're going to charge you for property taxes, they do it based off of the comps in the area, the comparables. What did the other houses sell for? Do you understand what I'm saying now? You don't lower the cost because it's not passed on to the consumer. If it costs me less to build the house, I don't sell my house for cheaper. I sell it based off of how much I can expand on my profits because I have expectations to meet for my shareholders. They don't pass the cost on to you. When they tax the people over in California more, because Californians pay more taxes than anybody else inside of the nation, how come they don't have cheaper housing? Why is the cost of a home in California still crazy, even though you guys are being taxed more and you have an economy where you don't really make anything and everything is service-based? Then you create a tourist economy. Then you have to make it attractive for other people to visit because you don't actually sustain anything within your own environment. I don't like it when large casinos go to small towns. The reason why I don't like it when large casinos open up in small towns is because they eat their own and then they move the profits out to whoever own the casinos out of town. When you don't allow for people to participate in the success of the economy, all you do is you depend on people that come from out of town in order to spend money. That's why there are certain places that if the tourism industry goes away, they suffer. Florida doesn't have a real industry. That's why they're trying to innovate and start to become the new Wall Street of the South. They're trying to get into cryptocurrency. Because when the tourism industry suffers in Florida, Florida collapses. It's the same thing that happens in Nevada. Nevada is a tourism industry because they don't make anything. So they have to depend on people flying in from out of town and all over the world in order for them to sustain because they don't have anything that they make. They don't have anything that they actually generate within Nevada. I'm trying to teach you from a C student's perspective in a very basic way why when you subsidize other people to come in and sell you cheap products, it does not result in you having a better lifestyle or a better economy or a better neighborhood or a better school system. Any of that. It does not work that way. The only way that it works is you keep the American dollar circulating within Americans and in your own city and in your own state and in your own community. That's the only way that you can build up. The only way. Make sure y'all hit a like for the algorithm, subscribe to the channel. Tap into the Patreon. I'm trying to teach you something. Tap into the Patreon. Link is in the description as well as pinned to the top of the chat. When I win as a content creator, guess what? Molly wins, Quentin wins, Slammy wins, Island Girl Q wins, anybody because we are all participating in our own success. We have a vested interest to see each other become successful. When I look to hire for a job, I go straight to the bag chasers. When I'm looking to invest in a business, where do I go? Straight to the bag chasers, because we are our own economy. We are all benefiting each other, and we're all sharing in the success of what happens when we support each other. This is why it's so difficult for Black people to come together, because they eat their own and they're looking for somebody to save them. Nobody can save you. You have to do what's best for you. You have to save yourself. Pick up your own trash, clean up your own communities, make sure that you call the police, support your own constituents, understand what's going on, make sure that you build up your own businesses. When y'all see these big box retailers, y'all let them destroy y'all economies, y'all let them destroy y'all cities, y'all let them destroy all of these things. And I'm not saying that they shouldn't be able to do it because they're American companies, but guess what? Amazon benefited Seattle because they headquartered in Seattle. But when you require for them to meet certain expectations, and I'm not saying that they shouldn't be able to open up businesses in your town, in your city, to where it couldn't be beneficial, but you have to ask the questions, which is one of the reasons why you need to get involved in your districts, in your state, and in your economies, because you do want them to come in, but you want them to come in understanding that they have to meet the expectations of how they're going to build the community and benefit the people in the community first. The money has to circulate in here multiple different times, 5 different times before it goes back out to Seattle. Otherwise, all they're doing is taking profits from your community. When they had the butcher and he had a meat shop, and they had the bread guy and he was making bread, and the pastry person and the vegetable lady, and this was all back in the day. You didn't even need cars. You know why? Because people spent money in their own community. The butcher guy benefited, the vegetable girl benefited, the bread guy, the pastry guy, all of these people. The banker was local to the community. Everybody was getting money because the money was circulating 20 times before it ever left and went somewhere else, and somebody took a vacation and said, I want to spend some money over where you at. Everything was booming. The towns died the minute that we started letting other people come in and subsidize your community and thought that you was doing well. One person had to be won over. One person. You know what? You know what? This is good. So then the legislators come in and they sell it to the people that this is going to be good for the community. The community don't even know that they're giving away their own children's jobs. It's a reason why don't nobody want to take over the business of their parents anymore. I'm telling you the truth. You were better when you were interdependent on each other instead of dependent on outside resources. We're better as Americans than dependent on people outside of the United States of America. I ain't going to talk too much about it.